What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Viall Files. I am your host, Nick, joined by the delightful team of Chrissy, Allie, and Amanda. I hope you're all had a great weekend. You're enjoying your Monday. Maybe it's Tuesday. I'm not sure what day you guys ever finally give us a chance, but we appreciate you tuning in. Once again, we want to thank everyone who voted for the Viall Files for the Podcast People's Choice Awards, for nominating the Viall Files for top podcasts under the Society and Culture category, and me as top male host. So thank you. Couldn't do it without you guys. We'll let you know if we win. Also, we certainly appreciate your reviews, because sometimes when people watch The Bachelor and they don't like our takes, we get some bad reviews. So why don't you guys give us some good, I mean, whatever, fuck it. I'm just going to say it.
The dedicated Wi-Fi's. Let's hear from you.
I don't know why people, when they don't agree with us, decide to review the show, but hey, I understand. People are passionate. I respect it. But boy, could we use some 5 stars. Is there anything else? We got a great show for you, obviously, as always.
Bachelor in Paradise is coming back today.
Bachelor in Paradise. We are back tomorrow with Bachelor in Paradise. And we have more great guests for you. Yeah, we got some great shows coming for you. Thanks for listening. As always, welcome if you're tuning in for the first time. And let's get to our callers.
Question time with Nick. Let's ask Nick your sexy questions.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Great. What's your name?
I am Sarah, 28.
Hi, Sarah. What can I do for you?
So recently, I was out at dinner and I was getting a ton of texts from my boyfriend. And when I got out of dinner with my grandmother, just gonna say that, I looked at my phone and there were a ton of texts. And the first one was a picture of a porn star on Instagram.
Male or female porn star?
Female.
Okay.
Female. And then after that, there was a text that said, wow, wrong thing, meant to send something else. And then after that, sent 3 crying laughing emojis. And still, I had not seen this. He was just sending me all these texts oh my God, what did I just do?
So he was he made a mistake, sent you something that he meant to send to a buddy, and then started.
No, he meant, so he tried to send me a link from Instagram that was an ad, but he sent me what he was actually on and not the ad. So he was trying to send me some little game.
Gotcha.
And then instead
sent you a female a porn star.
Right.
And then panicked, started spiraling. You're at dinner with grandma.
Yeah.
He doesn't know that per se. He doesn't know what you're doing.
No, he knew that. Yeah.
He did know that. So he knew you were at dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, you're not responding. And so he starts spiraling and starts sending more and more stuff.
Right. He said later that he didn't want me to open up the text in front of my grandma. He was trying to flood it so that I didn't just open this up and just see some girls say something.
Well, it was Instagram. So was this person naked?
It was a link to Instagram that was some girl showing her tits.
So she was nude?
Yes.
But it was on Instagram. Oh, anyway.
Yeah.
Who is the porn star?
I don't know.
You don't know? I don't know. Maybe you could.
No.
And then what happened?
Yeah, so I didn't respond to his texts. I called him after dinner and he did not even bring it up. Didn't bring up the whole mishap until a little bit later, 5 minutes in. And he was like, so do you want to talk about that? And I was just honestly, I don't know how to feel, how to talk about it right now. If you want to just, maybe we should just sit on it and talk about it when I feel a little better.
All right. So he texts you, LOL, whoops, wrong thing. Then sweat, a sweaty face emoji. Mm-hmm. Then said he tried sending me a picture of something else. Then, wow. Okay. So he didn't give away anything too much. All right. So then he wanted to talk about it. You were just you kind of said no, basically.
I mean, I just felt a little uncomfortable talking about it. Right then, I didn't know how I was feeling. Okay. So
valid.
I didn't want to get mad if I wasn't really mad.
Okay. So where are we now?
Yeah. Yeah. We talked later about it and he said, he was getting kind of defensive saying what, do you not want me to watch porn? And I was like, that's not what I'm saying. I don't have an issue with you watching that, I just like, you know, if it's healthy, it's fine, but I just want to know if it's unhealthy. So I asked him, you know, how often he does, and it was like twice a week. And then I asked him how many porn stars he follows on Instagram, and he said probably too many.
Okay, honest.
Doesn't feel great.
Yeah. I'm just thinking out loud here. Like,
yeah,
I feel like him following any porn stars on Instagram is more aggressive than how much he watches porn. Can I, any opinions on that?
Yeah, I mean, what I don't like is when he's scrolling through Instagram, like we're hanging out at the house, scrolling through Instagram, and then I look over and I see a naked lady.
Yeah, I mean, for mine it's even that, but like, you know, if you watch The Bachelor, right, and you're just like, oh, I watch The Bachelor and I follow it's an entertaining TV show. It's a different type of fan who like follows me, right? And thank you, by the way, for anyone who follows me, but they're just more into it than the casual fan who's just like, I don't know, I just watch it because I just like watching people cry over, you know, love. And the fact that he follows porn stars on Instagram would suggest that it's more than him just, you know, putting on some porn when he masturbates, you know, and using it as a little bit of a visual stimulation. But now he's following them as fans. Like he's following, you know, he follows their life, whatever that life might be, right? To me, that's like it's a little next level. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's just like crazy or like all of a sudden he's the worst, but it would suggest that he is more invested in them than you, well, would want, per se.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what did he say to that?
Yeah,
what next?
He said that he wanted to start unfollowing people, but Instagram has a cap on how many people you can unfollow a day.
I've heard that's true. I think that's true. They will lock your account.
Yeah. So
how many people does he? How many?
That was my biggest thing. Was like how many do you have to unfollow?
Like I think you got to unfollow 4, bro. You know, like I think it's like you have to follow like 20 in a row for them to be like maybe you got hacked.
Yeah. So he said that he'd already been thinking, and we had talked about this topic like before. He has 2 Instagrams, one for personal and one for his business. And so he has always talked about like just getting rid of his personal one because it's got like just way too much crap on it. And then he said that like now seems like the right time to delete it. And then last week he deleted it.
And now where are we at?
I just don't know how to feel about it. Like I don't feel resolved from it. Okay. It just feels kind of weird that it just ended with him.
This is an interesting
out his Instagram.
This is an interesting question because a lot of guys watch porn, right? Your husband certainly isn't the only one to follow porn stars or be fans of them. Certainly, he's not the only married guy. And I'm not saying it's okay. Your boyfriend, sorry. Married. Okay, your boyfriend. Yeah. But there's plenty of husbands who do that too, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to recovery, performance, immunity, and feeling less stressed, sleep is everything. And I mean everything, people. And I have found an answer to better sleep in a delicious, healthy cup of cocoa. That's right, cocoa. Can you believe it? And sleep. Whoever thought those two things would go hand in hand? Well, it is. It's the Dream CBD powder from the Beam, and it's changed the way people sleep, including myself. With Dream Powder, you're getting more than just quality, You're providing your body with sleep vitamins and minerals like magnesium and nano CBD. Dream is essentially a guilt-free, sleep-inducing warm cup of organic cocoa and organic cinnamon without any calories or added sugar. That last part could not be more important. And then there is proof in the powder. After taking Dream, 99% of the people feel an improvement in their quality of sleep and their sleep, and 97% felt more energized the next day. Truthfully, I took it because Chrissy wouldn't shut up about it. I'd call her in the morning, and she'd be like, I'm still sleeping. Thankfully, because of the cocoa. I mean, it was out, yeah. She was like, she was awake and still sleeping. If you want better sleep and better days delivered every month, subscribe to Dream for awesome perks like free delivery and 35% off your first month. Plus, you can pause or cancel at any time. Subscribe today, and you'll save 35% by going to beamtlc.com/VIALL. That is BEAMTLC.com/VIALL, or go to beamtlc.com and use code VIALL at checkout. Sweet dreams. Ritual. That's right. Know what you're putting in your body. Anything from dirty dicks to vitamins, people. That's right. Listen, vitamins, we just like to assume that everything that's, if it's called a vitamin, it must be healthy for us. That is simply not true. You must know what you're putting in your body, even with your vitamins. And thankfully, Ritual does the work for you. They take it very seriously what they put in their vitamins. They put it on their labels. They're very transparent. It's traceable. You deserve to know what you put in your body with a one-of-a-kind visible supply chain. You're always going to know in their formulas. The formulas are both specifically designed for women. They now have men's available. They got protein powder now. And again, their protein powder, like their vitamins, traceable with their ingredients. Not all protein powders are created equal. There's a lot of crap when it comes to protein powders out there. 20 grams of pea protein plus a complete amino acid profile. So check out Ritual for both vitamins, men or women, protein powders. They have it all, and have the confidence that it's healthy and good for you. So why not shake up your Ritual to make trying something less scary? Ritual offers a money-back guarantee if you're not 100% in love. Plus, my listeners get 10% off during your first 3 months. Just visit ritual.com/VIALL and add Essential Protein today. That's ritual.com/VIALL. This is one of those cases where I think it's really important. You want to be careful. Both of you want to be careful. You have the right to have a feeling towards this. He made this mistake and kind of outed himself. And while, not super great, and you have a right to be upset, it doesn't mean immediately he's a bad guy or that he has some sort of obsession or addiction to porn, right? If you're asking me, it seems like he is trying his best to make it right, whether that's whether he's effectively doing that or not, but it could be worse, right? There was a little bit of defensiveness at first. Oh, do you not want me to watch porn? And that came from a place of him being defensive. The best response would have been like, I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed. You have the right to be upset. Let me know when you want to talk about it and we can talk about it. Like, that would have been the perfect response from him.
Yeah.
Right? We often don't give the perfect response in the moment, but that would have been the perfect response. And then whenever you were ready, then you guys sit down and be like, let's talk about it. But, you guys do need to address it and talk about it. I do think he's at least he's, do you trust him that he is in fact unfollowing it and he's not lying to you about unfollowing it just to cover all our bases?
Yeah, I've been doing some sleuthing.
Oh, so you don't necessarily trust him, but you've been backing.
I just wanted to make sure. Yeah. I think I often look for anything wrong in a relationship and just want to peace out. And so I just wanted to, dot all my I's, cross all my T's.
The best way to help have trust in a relationship I have found is to not invalidate feelings, right? Yeah. Now, that doesn't give someone permission to lie, but it definitely does encourage people to lie if they feel like their feelings will be invalidated, right? If they feel like their partner will just get mad and shame them and yell at them for the things they do and say, people will have a tendency of lying. And again, I want to repeat, I don't think that's an excuse to lie, but it does happen often, right? So this is one of those things I think it's really important for you guys to work through and talk and not brush on the rug. The good news is that he is at least not making this a fight and fighting with you about it. So as long as the best way to figure out whether he's going to do this is to not necessarily tell him how dirty he is or make him feel like he's a creep for doing this, et cetera, et cetera. And again, because, right or wrong, but this is a common thing, not an uncommon thing for guys to do. The porn industry is $1 billion industry, and it's not because there's 6 fans out there. But I just think it's important for you guys to use this as a benchmark to get better at, talking through uncomfortable situations. This is an uncomfortable situation for the both of you.
Yeah.
He's uncomfortable because he kind of got outed and he feels a little ashamed and maybe dirty. You feel uncomfortable because you're just like, bro, like, come on, man. Like, how's that supposed to make me feel? And just talking through this is probably how you're going to get through it. So my point of saying is like the situation's not over because you don't feel like you still have questions. You're still calling in. So
Right.
How can you go about it where you can talk with him in a place where you let him know that like, I want to talk through this. I'm not mad at you. I'm not judging you. I know this happens a lot. Make him feel safe that he can be honest with you and try not to judge him. Because like whether you have the right to be like, I don't know. This changes things. And and if you want to regulate them, fine. Like you can do what you want. But shaming him isn't going to get you anywhere, and making him feel creepy or weird isn't going to get you anywhere. And it might bring out the worst in him. Also, like you could just be like, hey, if I were you, here's what I would do. I would say, maybe even out of nowhere, just like, I know that was weird, probably for both of us, but I just want to thank you for deleting it and going out of your way to try to make me feel comfortable with this. And so thank you. Like, I think start there in a place of appreciation for what he did and not focus on what he didn't do or did in the past. And then say, it does still bother me a little bit because, it makes me feel a little insecure. Right. And I get that you probably weren't even trying to do that. And then I don't know how you feel about it, but you can say, because sometimes I always get a little uncomfortable when someone overreacts too much to fix a problem. Like he's deleted everything, and it's just like, I don't know if has he been like, I'm never watching porn again or anything like that, because clearly
Definitely
you're not.
not.
Yeah. So you just say, listen, also I get that you watch porn and I get that it's a normal thing. So I don't want you to, I just don't want you to feel like I think you're weird. It just made me feel like it was a little aggressive for you to follow a lot. So like, I'm glad we can talk about these things, and I hope we can talk about it in the future. I mean, cause I don't think this is like the end of the world thing. And you could have easily have not found out. And there's a plenty of boyfriends and husbands out there, whether they're, and just because he's following it, there's a lot of guys who don't follow porn stars, but visit their pages, so to speak. Just because he's not following them, they're not following them doesn't mean they're not aware that they exist, and they pop on there and check it out and admire or look or whatever. So I wouldn't make too big of a deal about it. I would just leave the door open for further discussion when you want to talk to him about it. And when you do, it's just important to not make him feel judged or shamed for a mistake he made. And then listen, at the end of the day, if you feel like there is a real problem, if he's like addicted or something like that and it bugs you too much, then you have a right to leave. But the only way to get through this is to continue to talk about it and keep the conversations. And the best way to do that is to make sure that you both can come from a place where you're just acknowledging each other's feelings. You acknowledging you're not perfect. You acknowledge that you've made mistakes, and that let him try to explain to you how because if you don't make him feel judged for anything, then that sets you up to get the most honest response of why he did what he did, why he was thinking what he thought, because he's not worried about you reacting immediately. Yeah. And he's got to allow you to process. He's got to allow you to feel some disappointment or even get angry, but you're just going to like, okay, it's hard to hear, but all right, and then you can tell him how you feel. And he's got to give you that same respect you give him. And it's hard to do. And I haven't always had that in relationships, but making the other person feel safe for feeling whatever they're feeling is a great place to start. And I do think that overall, it sounds like he's at least trying to do the right thing. You just have to go to a place where you trust him and you don't have to sleuth for your own peace of mind. And that's and that's okay that you did, but maybe that's something you talk about with him because it rattled you. Hey, it rattled me. I'm human. It affected me. Here's how it affected me. It affected, I just, like we've talked about this before in the podcast. You found out, not by him saying, hey, by the way, I follow porn stars, which would be a weird thing to say anyways, but you found out he kind of got caught. And when you catch someone, then that makes your brain go, what else haven't I caught? It's just a natural place your brain goes. So talk about that. and seeing how he reacts is always a great place to see how you can get through things. But I do think the good news is he could have reacted much worse.
Yeah.
So
I think that's good. That's definitely something that I needed to hear, and how to speak to him effectively.
Yeah, if he's doing good things, whatever they are, even if it's the smallest thing, acknowledge that first, and especially if you do appreciate it. If it made you feel good that he unfollowed you, say thank you. That meant a lot. Thank you. You know.
Yeah.
If he acknowledged that
great.
maybe he did too much, then make sure you acknowledge that. That doesn't let him off the hook per se. It doesn't mean you have things that, it doesn't mean you can't bring it up again, but just make sure, there is an acknowledgement there. And the more he feels like he can be honest with his feelings without being shamed for them, the honesty he'll be. So,
I love that. Yeah.
So.
I think I have a hard time. I'm getting through all the little things, because all the little things bother me, but I think I just need to get over it and realize that he's actually a good dude. And
but just the final thought, it's okay to still question it and talk about it.
Yeah.
And as long as you guys can talk, and it's okay for you to say, I love that you're like, I now's not the best time for me, but like, it'll be okay. Just give me some time to process and things like that. And he's got to give you that respect too, and it's the other way around. All right?
Thanks.
All right. Best of luck. I'll tell you what. I need to meditate the fuck out of myself after this long week, and Headspace is going to help me do it. Headspace is your daily dose of mindfulness in the form of guided meditation in an easy-to-use app. Headspace is one of the only meditation apps advancing the field of mindfulness and meditation through clinically validated research. So whatever the situation, whether it's stress over watching The Bachelor, a stress at work, stress in your personal life, money problems, Headspace really can help you feel better. Overwhelmed? Well, maybe those kids are just like driving you nuts. I don't know. Headspace has a 3-minute SOS meditation for you. They also have meditation for helping you sleep and fall to sleep quicker. Headspace's approach to mindfulness can reduce stress, improve sleep, boost focus, and increase your overall sense of well-being. Like I said, I use Headspace. Meditation is a big part of my routine to keep my sanity, and it's all through Headspace because they make it super convenient wherever I am at. You deserve to feel happier, and Headspace is the meditation made simple. Go to headspace.com/VIALL. That is headspace.com/VIALL for a free 1-month trial with access to Headspace's full library of meditation for every situation. This is the best deal offered right now. Head to headspace.com/VIALL today. How's it going?
Hi, my name is Victoria, and I'm 25.
Hi, Victoria. How can I help?
So I've been dating this guy for about 8 months now. We broke up 2 months ago, just for like a week, and then we got back together. And so
how
far,
long are you
it's
dating
been,
for? Sorry, threw a lot of timelines.
About 8 months.
Okay, and then you broke up for how long?
Just a week.
Okay, all right. Sorry.
Yeah, got back together, and like so far, it's been a lot better.
Why did you guys break up, and who broke up with who?
I broke up with him.
Over?
And I was just like getting a lot of red flags, and for about half of the time that we started getting together was just like really rocky.
What were the red flags?
So, well, he's a resident doctor.
Okay.
So he's like pretty pretentious. Like, I don't know if it's just like the culture with like people starting to become like doctors, but I don't know, he had like a pretty big ego. He doesn't really treat customer service people well. And like,
okay.
I don't know. I'm just like super nice to them. So
he's a little arrogant and dismissive.
Yeah. So that was another sense. He's also not very like affirming. He doesn't really like to validate people who are insecure. And he like even says like he has a problem with that. So he recognizes that. Yeah. But he doesn't want to fix it because he doesn't think it's a problem.
Oh, so he's like, I do that, but like, I don't see that as an issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. So like, I will, yeah, for sure. I feel like if you're a mature person, you'd be willing to do that for your partner.
So you broke up with him because of some of these red flags.
Yeah.
And then he didn't think he should do anything about it. Why'd you guys get back together?
Well, we talked about it, and he said he was like willing to try. And that's like all I really wanted him was like the will. Like he just had to be willing to like change. And then we'd like see how it goes.
And so how's it going? Because so my question is like, first you said, well, he doesn't really see it as a problem. And then he said he's at least willing to try. And I guess the big question is so far since you've been back together, did that willingness end up being genuine, or did you just say it to get back together?
I don't know. I think he's willing, but he just like doesn't know if he can actually do it. Because
sure, I mean,
he thinks that his person.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know who this guy is, and he's a doctor, he's smart, and that's bullshit. I mean, it might not come naturally to him. Like, you've heard me talk about this. Like, my girlfriend is so present and so nice, and so like she is just great with people, like customer service wise. Like, she's just always like, how was your day? Like, she's asking people how their day was. I don't do that because I'm like, you know, I'm thinking my authentic self, I guess, doesn't care about how their day is going. I guess I hope it's fine, but I don't care enough to ask, right? And she's just so like nice about that, right? And it doesn't come naturally to me. But I still have taken notes from her and recognized like I could and should do better. And I've always been fine, but I've been at times, I know I've come across as dismissive to like people in line, or I might be on my phone and I'm just like, oh yeah, a large coffee or something, right? But I recognize to me that's not necessarily a great thing. And my point of saying all this is like, I can work on that. I can, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not a hard skill to like be more empathetic. I've become way more empathetic since I even started this podcast. You know what I'm saying? Like I've been more empathetic since I got a dog or a girlfriend, because I see people and I it's important to her and therefore it becomes important to me. And then I'm like, I see how people react to her and I see how she brings things out in people. And I go, wow, that's really great. And something doesn't come natural to me, but wow, I want to work on that. And then I do it. Like, of course he can do it if he gives a shit. But
the thing is, he doesn't give a shit. Like
I know, but I'm saying when you say, I don't know, I don't know, because you're questioning his ability to do it. And I'm saying you're not holding him accountable enough. You're being way too generous with his lack of ability to do something if he cared enough.
Yeah. So he just doesn't care to do it.
Correct.
I think that's my issue.
Yeah, it's valid.
But is that a deal breaker?
Potentially, yeah.
I don't know. He says that when he was my age, because he's like a little bit older, he's 32.
Okay.
He said when he was my age, he was a lot. I know, but like he was a lot more empathetic, and he's like, as you grow older, you start to care less about like making people feel good and like being polite.
Yeah, but that's bullshit, you know? And I get what he's trying to say, and I understand that as I've gotten older, I have been able to better prioritize things that matter. And I recognize I've gotten more comfortable with being myself at the risk of not everyone liking me, right? That's great. Mm-hmm. That's true. You get older, you become more comfortable. You're not constantly worried about making everyone happy. And so you're just your most genuine self. That is not an excuse to be a dick. And often people will use this like, I'm more comfortable in my own skin and I don't need everyone to like me as some sort of excuse to like, you know, be a dick sometimes. And again, it might not come naturally to him, and he's never going to probably be as good as you. But this like, I don't think it's a problem, and I'm not like, all you're asking, just to be clear, is just a little bit of consideration for the people around him. Yeah. Just a little bit of kindness. And my guess is that a little would go a long way for you.
Yeah, exactly. Just to see him trying.
Yeah. And not even trying, doing it. How hard is it to be like, hey, ask how this person's day is going?
Yeah, I know. That's like why it's so like,
you know, take a moment, get your head out of your phone and say, thank you. That was really nice of you. Thank you. That really, like, thanks for making my day, to whatever customer service person. And again, these are little things that like, I empathize with your boyfriend. It's not, at my worst, I can be your boyfriend. This idea that he can't, or it's not important, and that even if he tries, he might not be able to do it, is total bullshit. Because he's a doctor. It's not that hard to like give the smallest amount of shits. And like, I'm sure as a doctor, it's going to be tough dealing with patients and having to deliver bad news, and you have to like be disconnected. And I mean, whatever. There are really empathetic and kind doctors, and there are doctors who are, you know, narcissistic and assholes to their patients. You know, which one does he want to be? And as someone who wants to be his girlfriend, you have the right to say, I want to be with someone with a heart.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like even with his patients, he like wants to be kind, but then I'm like, is it fake? Because I'm like, you really don't care about like other people in general. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, like whether it's fake or not, like he doesn't even sound like he wants to try.
Yeah, he like does minimal effort. Like that is his personality. He doesn't like to try in like a lot of things. He just rather do like the easiest.
You know, because like
out.
You could call me fake by, you know, going grocery shopping, and then when I'm at the checkout and I have this thought about like, you know, Natalie does this. So like, hey, how's your day going? And I just ask the person, and I'm going to be honest, I don't give a shit. I don't really care how their day is going, I guess. If I, you know, in the truest sense of like, I hope they say well, and I guess if they say real shitty, I'm about to lose my job, I'd be like, oh, fuck, now I feel so bad, you know, like how can I help? But what I'm saying is I'm asking because I want to make them feel like I notice them. I want to acknowledge that they're helping me. So me asking them how their day is going isn't about actually literally caring about their day and wanting to hear like what they had for breakfast and what they had for lunch. It's just acknowledging their existence in a world where our heads are buried in our phones. And again, I'm not great at this, but the idea that he can't and is unable to is not true. He doesn't care enough to try. It's that simple.
Right. And that's why I feel like our relationship has just been like stagnant. Even after we got back together, like our whole relationship has never been like going up and up. It's just like, I feel like our feelings don't grow because I have these red flags, and I don't want to like.
Yeah. I mean, you broke with
so
them.
much.
Yeah. Because you broke up with them for justifiable reasons and then got back together with him because you second guessed how justifiable you were to hold him accountable.
Yeah.
And
well, basically like convince me that he could, you know, try more.
Sure, but since then he hasn't, right?
He has in some ways, like the customer service thing. Sure, like I can get over that, like whatever, as long as it's not me that he's doing that to.
I mean, how much of he is like, he a dick to people?
He's thrown little fits, like when he doesn't get what he wants, like at a restaurant.
Oh, like in public? In
public, where I've like actually wanted to apologize to the server.
Oh. Is he killing the messenger?
I know.
Like sometimes where it's just like, you know, it's not the server's fault.
Oh, for sure. Like no more seats because it's COVID. Like.
Oh God.
Yeah. Stuff like that.
He sucks.
See, I was scared you were going to say that.
At some point. I know. Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
At some point, you will be on the receiving end of that. Because right now, he's just not comfortable enough to do that with you. He's comfortable with them because they're not a part of his life. Someday,
I feel like
when the relationship's stale and bored and you're just there and he just accepts that you're a part of his life, when he's not afraid of you leaving, like when you're his wife and like you'd have to go through something as, you know, challenging and as arduous as a divorce to leave, he's going to treat you like a commodity, just like he treats them like one.
Yeah. And that's the thing. He's like not, I'm such like a future person, like a planner, and he's not. So he doesn't even see like when he would get married, if he would have kids.
Well, that's a whole nother thing. And that's like a separate thing. And forget about that. It just sounds like kind of a
too early on.
I mean, if he is making a scene about, COVID, like, you know, whether you agree or whatever your politics are or all that crap that people get into, like a hostess, you know, saying, I'm sorry, we don't have any more tables. It's like, it's just a fucking messenger, and he or she doesn't have the authority probably to seat them, and yet your boyfriend makes a fucking stink out of it. And even the manager who like is just like, hey, bro, I don't know, city fucking commission, I don't know, health codes. What do you want me to fucking do? And he apparently thinks he's above all that and has no problem embarrassing you or yourself. And that's not going to get better. And everyone has their moments, right? Everyone's had their moments. And so if you told me he did it a couple times and you were like, hey babe, like, what the fuck? And he was like, you know what? I'm a little, you're right. That I was embarrassed. Like I was a dick. Yeah, you're right. Then you know what? Then you chalk it up for you checking him and bringing out the worst, he was being his worst self, but like he at least recognizes that like that's not who he wants to be. But yet, no, it's the other end. He's just like, I don't know. I don't really see the problem in it. And that's a big red flag. I mean, that's not he's not changing. He's not going anywhere. And the only reason you're not getting that right now is because he just doesn't feel comfortable enough to do it.
True.
So
are you saying this isn't gonna work, or?
I don't like telling people what to do, but if I were you, I would totally break up. I would trust your gut the first time. And he didn't really convince you. You just you gave in. You getting back together was you not listening to your gut.
Yeah.
Like you went so far that you broke up with him, and then he just said just enough, because you don't want to break up with him. I get it. There's things, I mean, and even though I'm being hard on him right now, there's probably maybe a lot of things that make him pretty neat. But this is not a small red flag. This is a behavior and a mindset, and it's how he treats people. And you are a person, and eventually he will treat you this way. And the only reason he hasn't yet is
he kind of already has.
There you go.
And like, which is part of the reason we broke up.
It will only get worse.
Yeah.
Eventually, you'll be the person he takes it out on the most. And the only reason he's not doing it now is that you've done enough to have some power still. And that power is like, I'll break up with you.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, I know.
You're young, you're good looking, you're better off. You almost landed a doctor, but you know what? So what?
That's probably what he thinks too. His ego's huge.
Give me reasons why you should stay with him.
Honestly, like we enjoy our time together, but it's just like not a deep relationship. It's like very shallow. So I feel like I'm just like enjoying my time, but like it could be wasting my time too.
Well, no real relationship starts until you know how he is with you at his worst. And
makes sense.
If you see him at his worst and you think to yourself, I can't be in a relationship with that person, that's how you should, like, seeing someone at their worst and how they handle that moment is a great indicator of how they are going to be with you at their worst. So even when they are at their worst and they act bad, for them to say, fuck yeah, no, I'm ashamed of how I acted, and I can't go back and I can't change that, but I will work on it and get better. Give me a little bit of grace and a little time to work on it, but I definitely will. And then you see some active changes, but like someone just being dismissive and arrogant and being like, I'll try, but I don't know if I'll be able to be nice. Like, what the fuck is that? You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's great that you have fun together when he's at his best. But like how they are at their worst and your ability to get through that is a better indicator of how long and how happy you will be in a relationship with him.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So
it's not what I want to hear, but I kind of felt like I might have heard that.
That's okay. Well, I mean, the choice is yours now. And again, like, I know you didn't want to hear it, but wouldn't you rather have an opportunity to find, I mean, there's plenty of people who are just, that you can have fun with, you can enjoy a good time with, and not being embarrassed by him in public when he doesn't get his way.
Yeah.
And not be on the receiving end of that when he feels comfortable enough to do that to you.
True.
All right.
That makes sense.
Don't let me down.
Well, yeah, I'll think about it. I'll think long and hard about it.
You're gonna not take my advice for a couple months, and then eventually you will, is my guess.
Well, it'll be in the back of my head for sure.
All right. Well, Let us know when you finally pull the plug.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Take care.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye. How's it going?
All right. Good. How are you?
I'm so good. What's your name?
I'm Emery, and I am 24.
How can I help?
I guess I'll start chronologically, if that makes sense. So I dated a guy for about 2.5 years.
Uh-huh.
And I think early in the relationship, I was definitely much more committed than he was. It was a good relationship. I mean, there was tons of great, but I was definitely not going to be the one that ended things with him. So about a year before we broke up,
So hold on, backtrack. You said
down.
you were definitely not going to be the one who ended things with him.
At the time, yes.
What does that mean? Tell me about that mindset.
I don't know. I would say like I went into it. I was hesitant. I would never say like I love you more or anything like that because there was some truth behind it. I felt, if that makes sense. I don't know. He was really good. He's a very logical and rational person. So him being vulnerable and opening up and things like that, like I did not get a lot of that from him.
Okay.
And I was definitely more of the emotional one in the relationship. Although my past relationships, I'd been much more of the logical, like rational person.
Okay.
So it was just a new experience for me because I felt like in the past I'd been the one completely in control. And in this relationship, I was definitely at his will.
You felt more vulnerable.
Yes, 100%.
So why did that mean you weren't going to be the one to end it? Was this an honest, you're just.
Yeah,
You mean that reflecting back? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I would have never thought that I would be the one to end. Like if it was going to end, it would have been him. It was never a consideration for me. I had never even thought about it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So about a year before we ended things, we had slowed down on intimacy quite a bit. And then about 9 months before we broke up, we had stopped having sex altogether. So that was an indication to me that something was wrong.
Uh-huh.
And yes, so I brought that up to him over the course of the year that, it had slowed down and stopped. I brought it up to him about 5 times, which I hated bringing it up because I didn't want to emasculate him. I didn't want to make him feel bad, but also there was no solution. We weren't reaching anything. And so at that point I was like, okay, there's obviously something going on here. And he's either not being honest with me about it or whatever the issue is, we've got to resolve it. There's something up if we, aren't being intimate.
Yeah. So you're basically, when you say you were worried about emasculating him, you didn't know if it was maybe a psychological or biological thing going on for him that had nothing to do with you. And you didn't want to make him feel self-conscious, or you didn't know if he's having sex with a bunch of chicks and cheating on you and
exactly.
et cetera, et cetera. Right. All right.
Right. So I brought that up to him 5 different times over the course, probably every couple of months. Whenever we would go without, I was like, all right, so what's up? What's going on? And I phrased it, okay, what can I do? Is there anything I can do to fix it? And things like that. And I was met with 5 different excuses of what was going on. And
are you being literal?
Yes.
What are those excuses?
The first was that he was watching too much porn.
Okay.
And the second was that he had been extremely stressed. So even without porn, he was just doing some stress relief on his own. And I was doing that so often that it wasn't working when we were together.
Okay.
And then let's see. The next was that I had told him earlier in the week or something that women only shower but I showered every day, but I didn't wash my hair every day.
Okay.
And he was a very hygienic person. So he had told me that that conversation grossed him out.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, I don't know. I have trouble believing that one. I
mean, they're all a bit suspect, but
yeah, agreed.
Because you can stop watching porn, and you can stop jerking off, masturbating less.
Yes.
So I mean, if that was a problem,
I showered more. I started washing my hair every day. I'll do whatever I can to fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, and then the 4th thing. Oh, he looked at me and thought that I looked really good, and I kept up on fitness. And when he would look at himself, it made him feel insecure. Which that one, maybe I was like, okay, that's a little bit more vulnerable. That's a little bit more raw, but I don't know.
None
I
of
still
which
had trouble with that one.
explain why
A
your
year
sex
of it.
life stopped.
stopped. I agree. I completely agree.
Okay. And yet, so just to hear, during this time, he wasn't like floating the idea of you guys breaking up. He was just like, no, I still want to be with you. Also, like, just don't want to sleep with you.
Right. So I was extremely confused.
Of your smelly hair.
Right. That's it. So, which we had, I'd showered just as much in the year and a half prior when we were going like bunny rabbits, but whatever.
That's a great point. So you were having pretty good, consistent sex.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And it just, okay.
So yeah, the last excuse was now it's just been so much time. So there's so much pressure built up and he was worried. So I mean, all of that was going and I was just like, okay, a lot of it felt like more defense and rationalization rather than we're going to move towards any resolution.
Okay.
And I never wanted to ask him, like, I would hate to be the person that's like, okay, well, you can't masturbate until we have sex. Like, that's crazy.
No, that is crazy.
I don't know.
But it's, yeah, you're right. It is crazy. But he tried to use that as an excuse as to why sex was non-existent in your relationship. So then he brings it and he makes it fair game. And you're still not saying you need to never masturbate. But if you are masturbating so much that we can't have any sex, then yes, you need to make an adjustment.
Completely agreed. So that also just kind of pointed me in the direction of evaluating the rest of our relationship. And then at this point, I was starting to get insecure, like, okay, you've got to be like screwing somebody else. Like something's wrong. And so then I was kind of thinking about other parts of our relationship that I was like, well, does he do this in other areas? Like, have I just not noticed? Like, I've been so invested. I've been so in this. And, I realized like, with my family lives close by. His family was spread out all over the East Coast. And so I would ask him like, hey, I'd like for you to kind of be around my family more. We've dated for 2.5 years. I'd love for you to, in the 2.5 years we dated, he probably spent 3 or 4 times with my family. And my family's in the same town. So I just thought that was crazy. But he was like, well, my family's all over and we can't have the same relationship with my family that I could have with yours. So I just want to make it even. And I was like, okay, that's still not a resolution to my problem though. That's still a defense or rationalization for why you're behaving the way you are rather than
sure. All right.
Moving towards anything that's going to fix it.
All right. So what happened?
Yes. All of that goes down. I start to just kind of think about all these things. And I'm like, I don't want, to be in this relationship. And I had started about 6 months before I actually ended things. I was like, okay, maybe I can be the person who ends this relationship. Like I never thought that I'd be that person, but I'm not happy. I'm feeling insecure. I don't like this. This is not what a relationship is. We're not moving towards anything. I would like to get laid. So yeah, I decided that I was, toying with the idea of breaking up. We'll see if anything else changes. And I wanted to be sure, so I did spend about 6 months thinking about it. I wouldn't really bring up any problems to him. I just kind of was like getting apathetic towards that relationship.
It took you 6 months to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
and then you broke up with him?
Yes. The last straw was I told him that I wanted to move to a larger city to, get a job, a more successful job than what I could get in my town.
Okay. Yeah. You wanted to invest in yourself and you were willing to take a risk.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And he told me this was the first time that I had noticed like.
How old is this guy?
He's also 24.
Okay.
He had told me that I would be probably unhappy and unsuccessful in a larger city.
He has no idea.
And
anyway.
Right. So that was the first time that I was like, oh, now you're telling me things about me. Like, it's not even that you're not going to validate what I'm feeling. You're just not going to defend and rationalize your own behavior. But now you're telling me things about me that aren't true. So at that day, I was like, okay, I would like to break up.
It's just a manipulation tactic.
100%.
To your point, if you felt like he had the power in the relationship, he probably did, especially if you felt that. And he started losing power by you saying, I'm moving. Or I'm even considering moving, and he tried to make you second guess yourself, right?
Right.
And that's a power move.
Right. It was right then. And I was like, okay, well, then I would not like to be in this relationship anymore.
Okay.
You're not going to tell me how I feel about things. You're not going to tell me
Love it.
this type of thing. I've been thinking about it for a while.
Meanwhile, have you had like any
we haven't
sex in
had
a year and a
sex.
half?
No. Well, a year at that
Jesus.
point.
Anything? Are you guys like nothing? Just at this point, you're just
literally nothing.
Friends. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes we cuddled. Yay. You know, it was awful.
Okay.
So
then what?
So he kind of left that conversation that day, like, what the heck, not really understanding what was going on. But then he kept reaching out probably over the course of about 3 weeks and just wanted answers. And I was like, okay, well, I've broken up with you and you don't know that I've been like considering this for 6 months. This seems like on a whim to him. So I was like, because I've ended things with you, I will leave lines of communication open for you to ask questions and for you to get clarification.
Just to be clear, though, like you may not have said I'm thinking about breaking up with you for 6 months, but you clearly mentioned problems that existed.
Hey, there's some problems.
And things you tried to get answers of which he, whether they were true or untrue, it certainly sounded fishy and never got resolved.
Right.
So he can't claim that it was out of the blue.
Right. But
I mean, he can, but it wouldn't make much sense.
Yeah. Well, I never reached out to him because I don't think that that's fair. I think if you're the one that ends a relationship, you need to be done.
You gave him the opportunity. Okay. And then what?
Right.
So where
but
are we
I was
now?
like, if you have questions. So right now we are 9 months removed from us talking at all.
Okay.
Right.
So why? What's the
TV
question?
Stand, right. I had a TV stand of his.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm moving out of my place. I'm moving to this larger city. I'm excited. This is great. I didn't say that, but I've got your TV stand. Do you want it back? Because whenever we had ended things, he was like, I guess you can just have that TV stand. And I was like, oh, okay. I'll give it back to you when I move out. And
what was your reasoning for asking if you wanted a stand? Was it genuinely just, I don't want this stand?
I want you to have all your stuff. I don't want.
Like, how do you feel about this breakup? Like, be honest. Like, do you think about him? Do you question? Do you
Not at all.
You don't. You're good.
Not at all.
You're completely indifferent.
Very good. Yeah. And I feel really bad because I feel apathetic towards it. And
okay.
I even had a conversation. This was post breakup. I'd had one conversation with a friend of mine. It's a childhood friend of mine, but a friend that was in his friend group, like his guy friend. But that friend is closer to me because we've been family friends since we were really young.
Mm-hmm.
And he had reached out just to ask, like, hey, how are you doing with everything? And I was like, to be honest, I feel fine. And I feel really bad because he's texting me all the time, wanting answers and wanting,
answers?
to work on getting back together. Right.
So, well, I'm glad you're calling, and this is a fun story. And why do you care? Like, why are you calling?
Well, I reached out to say, hey, take your TV stand.
Uh-huh.
Like, I don't want it. I don't want you to have any more ties to me. I don't want this to be something you bring up later. Yeah. I'm about to move. I'm starting a new life. Take the TV stand.
Yeah.
And he said, he was like, are you really moving? Like, I really thought we would have another conversation. I've grown so much. I've changed so much. I've realized all these things I did wrong. And like, you're not even going to listen. Like, you're not even going to hear me out and have a conversation.
He said this to you.
But yeah.
Okay.
So he was like, you haven't reached out to me since you broke up with me that day. And like, really nothing has changed for you. You want to be done. And that's just it. Like, you don't want to work. If I've worked on all these things and I'm ready to enter a relationship and like be so much better, then why can't you hear me out? And
how do you feel about
that's
it?
The thing.
That's the big question. What did he say that I guess triggered you? Trigger sounds aggressive, but
yeah, no.
He scratched an itch, and you're having a hard time simply just being like, "Hey, listen, buddy, that chap."
Well, that's the thing. I did. I sent 2 messages back. I sent one kind one that was like, "Hey."
No, I'm not talking about what you said to him. I'm talking about what you're thinking when you go to bed, like why you're calling, like what is unsettling for you. What do you need my help with that you can't get to on your own?
Okay.
That's the big question.
Right. I just feel bad because he wants to have a conversation. I want to let him get closure. I want him to like close this chapter of the book and be able to move on.
He'll be fine.
And I want to move on.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
did he ever take you up on the offer when you first broke up to talk at all?
Yeah. I mean, we spent like about 3 weeks at that time, like just
guys,
sorting through details and things like that.
I mean, you guys are the slowest paced relationship ever.
Awful.
I mean,
I know.
So I don't think closure is like the thing we need to like really make sure happens. I mean, you know, anyone can claim they still haven't gotten closure, and it can be a moving goalpost if they want it to be. Right. It sounds like there's a little manipulation, gaslighting, if you want to call, like, I don't know if gaslighting, but yeah, he doesn't ever seem to be satisfied with any answer that he doesn't like.
Right.
There's that. I mean, you sent these texts, and these texts you sent, are they recent? How recent are they?
They were last Monday, so a week ago.
And truly, you have no interest in getting back together with him. Your only goal is like what, guilt about him being okay?
Yeah, I just feel bad because I'm 100% good. Like I don't care. I don't want anything to do with him, but I feel really bad about that because it's been, we spent 2.5 years together. I really thought that it was going to be something, and that I'm totally okay and that he's not. I do feel bad about that.
All right, I'm just reading his text because I don't know if yours necessarily. Yeah. Because these are long.
Yeah. Lengthy.
He said, "I always imagined that we'd have real conversations way before you'd move away like this." And just to reiterate, you had real conversations in the past when you guys broke up. Okay. Why?
Yes, and I said that.
Why did you never reach out to me? ? Are your feelings about everything unchanged? He asks. Then you give him a long response. Like I said, you probably remind him that you did. He says, the hardest thing for humans to do is communicate.
Oh.
Okay.
I hated that.
Condescending. And I really feel like if we communicated better, then the reality of our relationship could have been better. And you still don't know why he didn't have sex with you for a year. Correct?
No clue. I do have maybe a slight indication that friends that had reached out told me that post breakup, he told me after the breakup, he said that at one point he had kind of told the guys, they were playing some drinking game, and I was like, what's the worst thing you did this week or something like that, or take 5 drinks. And he said, he was like, well, I downloaded Tinder. Sometimes I do that whenever I'm out of town, and I just will scroll through and I won't do anything, but I just like to, match and get some validation.
Okay. Yeah, listen,
which is insecurity on his part. I don't care. That's why I never brought it up to him, just because I was like, that's not why we broke up. It is a reason that I would never could get back together with him. I mean, if you need to go seek validation from a dating app, I think that.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I think the thing that you need to focus on, I'm not going to really read any more about, it doesn't matter. I don't really care about your relationship with him or him anymore. I do care about you and your ability to get better at listening to yourself and trusting your gut and not take what essentially was like a 1.5 years to make a decision. Like, listen, like, you're right. Like, there's a lot of reasons why a guy might not, why your sex life might diminish or like sex completely stops. And you shouldn't just break up, right? But you have the right to ask some of these questions, especially when it goes from 100 to 0. It just completely stops. And then you start asking legitimate questions, and you're being empathetic, and you realize it's a sensitive issue, and you consider all possibilities, and you approach it that way with sensitivity. And then you get, like, as you said, 5 different answers. Well, either they're all lies, or at least 4 of them are. Right. Just by definition, like, if one's true, then the other ones have to be lies. Now, 2 of them were around the idea that he's like, he only has so much in the gas tank, and he's been using some of the gas in other areas, and therefore there's nothing left for you. And that simple solution is like, well, like, I mean, prioritize where you spend your gas or whatever, money. You still don't really got answers, and you got some admission that he was low key at best, emotionally cheating on you by going on Tinder and swiping right, whatever. I just like, what is causing you to take things so slowly when it comes to your decision making? And like, I commend you for, like, it's great that you're moving. I love this for you. I love that you finally, he said something that said, fuck it, I'm done. And there is something to be said about not making rash decisions, because it sounds like you are in a great place. You don't wonder about him. You don't go back. You're confident in your decision. Those are all great things. I would just like to see that sped up for you a little bit. Why are you even still worrying? Why is he able to have any power over you whatsoever that he can, in a way, manipulate, gaslight you and ask you questions like, he's talking to you as if you're still dating. I guess it is gaslighting. Yeah. He's making you think that you should somehow have some empathy for his situation still that's 9 months old. That you should still have some sort of feelings, that he is doubting why your feelings have changed. You haven't talked to the guy in 9 months. Right. Like logic would tell you that just by definition they would change, and he's making you feel bad for adapting and growing and moving forward and literally moving moving on as a person. And you have to figure out why you allow him to have that over you. Because that is something that you as an individual needs to work on. It's not necessarily anything he's doing, because a lot of guys who will and can do stuff like that. Sure. But it's something that you just have to get better at trusting yourself. And that's not you being empathetic, Right. It's there's a boundary there. And I think I don't necessarily have the answer for you, but might be something you could explore in therapy, How do you get better at trusting your gut? How do you get better at listening to yourself? Like, how do you get better at, believing when something is messed up and setting a boundary far sooner than waiting for a year? You put up with not having sex for a year. Yeah. Without any answers. That's not normal. Right. And not sex is or the whole thing of a relationship, but like sex is a part of a romantic relationship. And if they're not going to have sex with you, they do owe you some sort of explanation. Maybe it's who knows? There's a lot of justifiable reasons why it's like sex isn't on the table in a relationship, and you have to decide if you're okay with that. And a lot of couples go through it and they survive it and they work through it, but you're just walking blind. You know, like that's and you being okay with that is the only thing that really concerns me now. And I don't want you to get into another relationship and have that much empathy that you ignore your own personal needs.
I think I was just thinking at the time, like, if this were reverse and he was upset with me for not having sex with him, like, how would that sound? If that makes sense. Like, if it was a guy who wanted who was pissed at a girl for not having sex with him, then like I don't know. I think I struggled with that a lot. And then I think I also just struggled with, I take a while to jump into things. So even jumping out of things, like I do that with most of my decisions. I'm very
I think
cautious.
Yeah. And I think your cautiousness is a little too extreme. And quite honestly, I think something that if you wanted to explore it in therapy might be worth your time. Mm-hmm. Time is a resource we don't get back, and you're taking a long fucking time to make some decisions. And and I just think, getting better at that will allow you to experience more life and figure out what, it's they always say fire fast, and you need to make decisions a little quicker and just have a little bit of confidence in yourself and be okay with, getting it wrong. If nothing else, at least now you learn from the fact that you thought something was off a long time ago, and you took a year and a half to get there, but you weren't wrong way back when. Right. So now you need to be able to trust yourself a little bit better. Okay. So that's the only thing. And as far as he's concerned, honestly, like I think blocking him would be reasonable at this point. He's borderline delusional. Right. Yeah, I mean, I think my initial response was, I don't want to meet with you and I don't want to talk with you. But then I did that thing where I sort of rationalized and went back and didn't. And listen, he's manipulating, and it's a hook, and it, But just get better at trusting yourself, and don't be afraid to explore that, with therapy. And maybe it's like something you do for a couple sessions. You get some answers, and your therapist gives you a few exercises to work on it, and you have some lasting benefits. Fair enough. All right. Well, best of luck with your move. I think it's going to be great. Thank you. Be okay with things getting a little scary and bored for a while when you first move. Okay. But good decision. All right. Take care. Bye-bye. How's it going?
Good. I'm Erin. I'm 25.
Hi, Erin. How can I help?
Okay. So I'll give you a little background. Okay. I recently attended my cousin's going away party where his friend and I hit it off. So my cousin gave him my number, and we started talking from there. We went on a few dates and we were scheduled to have another one. But right before, like the day of, he bailed. He said that he forgot that he had his friend's party the day he scheduled it with me. And then a few days after that, he texted me to let me know he wasn't comfortable talking to me anymore because it was too much with my cousin involved in his business, in particular regarding me. So he ended things. Okay. So I guess my question for you is, do you think his excuse of my cousin being too involved with our relationship was just an excuse to end things, or do you think he really felt that uncomfortable? And I haven't spoken to either one since. So do you think I should try to make things work and talk to them, or just leave it as is?
When you say try to make things work with the guy?
Yeah.
Well, what if he doesn't want to make it work?
Well, yeah, I guess that's the other thing is, he was pretty set in his mind when we last talked.
So you sent some texts, and these are always fun to read, and we'll break them down. But my short answer to your question is, the why doesn't really matter, right? He has decided he doesn't want to pursue things with you. And I think it's important I bring this up, and thank you for calling, because I get asked this all the time. And I've been in your situation before too. It's like, I want to understand why they did what they did or said what they said. Why are their actions not lining up with the things they've told me last week or the other day? And we can waste a lot of energy, or invest a lot of energy, and spend a lot of energy, and it ends up being a waste, because at the end of the day, they just don't want to. And we tell ourselves we want to hear the truth. Sometimes I don't know if we do, sometimes what if the truth is, I don't know, I think you're annoying. You seem delightful, and I can't imagine a world when you're annoying, but if that were the case, wouldn't you just rather hear that, I don't know, it's overcomplicated with work, Yeah. I get where you're coming from, because you're thinking, well, hey, listen, if this is a family thing and a work thing, hey, don't worry, we're not even that close. I don't even care. Yeah. That's the problem, is when people give us insincere answers and they try to sugarcoat things, the other person hearing it tries to solve that problem. They're like, oh, well, if that's the problem, let's figure out a way to solve it. And then they're like, well, fuck, it's not, the problem is I just don't like you, And then we're wasting a lot of energy. And that's why sometimes, while the truth does hurt, as they say, short of it being cruel and dismissive and unnecessary, the honest truth is often the most selfless one, because it always allows the person to move on the fastest. And that's, and that might mean you're the bad guy, not you, but him. And he's being selfish because he doesn't want to be the bad guy. He doesn't want to feel mean. He doesn't want to feel like a jerk, et cetera, et cetera. Let's dive into these texts though, quick. I was doing good. I'm sorry I have to do this like this, but I'm just not comfortable talking to you because of your cousin. He's just too immature, and he's making it weird for me. Okay. Well, that's specific, and saying stuff in the group chat about conversations he supposedly had with you, and I'm just not trying to have that in a relationship. I feel so shitty about it, and you're a really nice girl, and you're definitely a catch, but I don't want interfering with a friendship and vice versa. You wrote, well, first off, he hasn't had any conversation with me. He keeps asking me about you and wondering where he's been getting this information, because I didn't want him involved for that reason, and he can be an asshole, or I'm not, because I didn't want him involved for that reason, that he can be an asshole, or I'm not sure what he's saying to you on that end. But when he asks if I've kept it super vague, because honestly, what happens between us is none of his business. How many times did you guys hang out, by the way?
I think it was 2 dates, but we met 3 times.
Okay. So you've been on 3 dates. I'm sorry on this end if that's put you in a position, and if I saw you again, I was going to say something to you because I didn't want him involved. But you just try to empathize, and you're like, I get it. a normal response on your part. He's like, yeah, I know you're doing the right thing, and it's been the same with me. Super vague and just general information, like going on the boat. I try to be super private. I try to be a super private person with my relationship because it's just not anyone else's business. I'm into you and all, but he just doesn't understand what's socially acceptable in a public forum, and I honestly just don't want to deal with him as his boredom increases while he's in South Carolina and he tries to stir up more and more. And that's that he's still part of the friend group, even though everyone knows he's an asshole. So is your cousin an asshole? Like, you guys are both kind of shitting on him.
He can be.
I'm so sorry. You're a great girl, and I'm 100% down to stay friends, but something as intimate... I mean, listen, I stand by everything I just told you before I read these texts.
Mm-hmm.
That said, I mean, it just sounds like he's like being legitimate, and like this is not some sort of BS excuse where he's just kind of conveniently blaming your cousin.
Mm-hmm.
I still stand by what I said, that if I do think if he liked you enough, his approach most likely would be, hey, like, what the fuck is the deal with your cousin? Like, I really like you, but like, he's fucking this up. I like to be private. You know what I'm saying? He would have presented you with the problem and said, how do we figure this out together? Or at least would have said, this bothers me. How do you feel about it? And you would have said, like you said, like, oh, fuck, I'm on the same page as you. He fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Let's not tell him anything. He's my he's my cousin. Like, I don't know. I see my cousin like once a year. Like, I don't, you know, fuck it. Like, you want me to not, I don't have to talk to him. Fuck it. You know? So that's what I'm saying. If he liked you enough, I think he probably would have done that. So I think he both doesn't like you enough and this is legitimate, but you made it clear that you liked him. I don't think you should be friends with him.
No. Okay.
No. Like, if you want to date him. So we don't accept less than what you want. That doesn't do you any good. Being friends with him won't get you what you want. You don't need a friend. You don't need a pal.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, being friends with him doesn't solve what he says is the problem is your cousin being involved, because if your cousin is immature and petty and a gossip, he can still make up gossipy stories about you two just being friends.
Yeah.
All right.
It feeds the...
So are you guys like done talking completely?
Yeah, I haven't talked to him since that whole incident. Like, he ended up calling me after, and he was like, just, you know, going on about my cousin again and saying like he's always been this way and all this, which kind of dug the hole, I guess, a little further, because it was like, all right, we get it. But like you said, if he really wanted to, we could work around the cousin.
Yeah, I don't never reach out to him again. And there's a good chance you don't hear from him, which would which additionally would solidify that it's less about your cousin and more about you. But he might reach out, and if he reaches out, you're just, hey, you know, listen, I get it. We understand. My cousin can be this way. I respect how you feel. I'm disappointed you feel this way, but I respect it. As far as being friends, like, I'm good. If you want to reconsider this, I'm down. And just so you know, if we do try to date, I'm just as interested in you on making our relationship private, especially to my cousin. But if you don't want that, I respect it. It's okay. I don't need to be friends. Obviously, we're cool if I see you out. Like, no hard feelings. And that's exactly what you say.
Okay.
And that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right.
All right.
Yeah, I think it'd be great. And I thought, as far as your responses, I think you did great. You didn't sound like you were empathizing. You got it. You didn't sound desperate or anything. You just were like, okay, well, that's how I feel. I thought you did a great job responding to him. And there's a good chance you won't hear from him again. And if you do, just be super chill and let him know you're okay. It's okay if you tell him you like him, but just let him know you're okay if he doesn't want the same. But you're okay with setting a boundary. Yeah, but you still have boundaries, and that boundary is, I don't need pals.
Yeah.
All righty.
All right. Thank you so much.
No problem. Best of luck. You're gonna be great.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening, guys. Hope you enjoyed this episode. We always appreciate you tuning in. Hopefully there were some good takeaways for you all listening. Either way, we always appreciate the people tuning in. Don't forget to send in your questions at asknick@castmedia.com, cast with a K. To submit your questions. We certainly always need the people being vulnerable with their stories to get this show going. Can't thank you enough. We'll be back tomorrow recapping Bachelor in Paradise. See you tomorrow. Have a great day. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss any future videos like our Tuesday Bachelor recaps and Wednesday celebrity and expert interviews. See you next time.